right, so here we go. We're moving forward. Several recent high-profile media interviews and surveys, most recently the Brilliant Minds Conference last week, have spotlighted the fact that men, particularly black men, are feeling that you're not seen or that they're not seen. And heard some different things from key leaders and elected officials. Do you agree or disagree that this is a reality in your lives? That you're feeling, or the men that you represent today, that black men are not prioritized and seen by political candidates? Anybody can take this question.
I feel pretty much disenfranchised. I feel like the system has always worked against us. You know, from a young person, I got caught up in the system, which is one of the reasons why I never pretty much got a chance to vote. So I feel disenfranchised basically because of how the system has worked against us, even now with gerrymandering, and the disenfranchisement, how the suppressing of the black vote.
And hold the mic as you have it. Talk a little bit more. Let's go a little bit deeper with you, Brother Bailey, in terms of your inability to vote is because you're a returning citizen initially 4 years ago. Now, what's the circumstance today?
The circumstances right now is that I'm still up on probationary period, and I'm not eligible to vote right now due to the amendment, Bill 7866, which prevent us from expelling felonies from voting.
Okay, all right. Who else has a thought on this? Bring one of those down this side. Anthony wants to jump in.
Because I'm in media, I do a lot of research every week to get prepared for my show, and both sides of the fence, I don't think Democrats or Republicans have any language that speaks directly to black men, period. You see the campaigns, and they'll look right past us and go to our women. None of the language speaks to us as far as what we're going to do for us. There's nothing putting any bills for us, nothing that's even mentioned that say, hey, this is going to go specifically for black men. So I think that's a barrier. And then as far as for Mr. Bailey's situation and my situation, you got a lot of people that are felons. You got a lot of people that are felons that don't even know if they can vote. So they don't know, they just go and have a felony. And when I go to get a job, it always come up, so I ain't even trying to vote. So that's another issue that we have to address.
In that last election, there were lots of men who were arrested because of their attempt to vote. Darryl?
So there's a historical mistrust of black people as a whole, not just black men, from voting. A historical mistrust. But I have to shout out a little humor because I'm watching all of these campaigns target black men to try to get them to vote. Donald Trump has said that he's going to increase from 8% to 12% the black vote for him. And I don't know how he's going to do that, he must be drunk. But I think that most black men who feel they're not heard are not listening because of the targeting of black men to vote.
Okay, Byron wants to get in.
No, I think James said that.
I was going to touch on kind of what Senator Rousseau mentioned. I think it's the messaging that we're missing, and also the research of our own, right? So sometimes we say, oh, they're not trying to do anything. I mean, even with, Kamala Harris, she's running as president, her recidivism, some of the programs she put in to help those that were disenfranchised, and even with Walls, right? Some of those things that he's done with expungement records, and then giving them a second chance to life. Some of those things that we got to actually take the time and educate. That's why this conversation is so important, because, he may feel like there's not messaging, but there's out there's policies that are being worked on, and even in our own state, back in 2018, Florida did pass a law that helped those that serve their prison sentences be able to vote and get their voting rights back. But then once the census came in, he was like, actually, no, let's not do that anymore. You know, we're gonna put all these fines and all these roadblocks in order to
Fees
stop
and
it.
fines, yeah.
So I think, you know, it's not that there aren't policies or the conversation's not there. We just gotta be more vocal about them and bring it to the forefront and make the, change.
Brian, before you go, let me just jump in today. This is hot off the, like today. This has been a big conversation. Former President Trump said back in February, and it's in the news cycle again, at the Black Conservative Federation Gala in Columbia, South Carolina. That's close to my family's hometown in Newberry, if you didn't know that. He said hundreds of black conservatives, Americans are here, and they're all patriots. He went on to say this: I got indicted a second time, this is a quote, a third time and a fourth time, and a lot of people said, that's why black people like me, because they have been hurt so badly and discriminated against. That's a quote, that's a direct quote. Today, Vice President Harris in Philadelphia, with a group of National Association of Black Journalists, said this: black men are like any other voting group. You have to earn their vote. Right?
I feel like you set me up for your
No, you had the mic.
I was trying to get the mic earlier. I was trying to get the leg. I think that before I engage with your statement, I think the important thing that I really want to highlight that is on clear display on this stage is that black men are not a monolith. Right. That this idea that all of us in this room, have our own intersections, and we exist in our everyday lives in those intersections. So what we are hearing may not hit my blackness, but it may hit my maleness, or it may hit my queerness. It may hit my business owner. It may hit my nonprofit executive director status. There are so many pieces of me that I believe that I do hear language that is looking to earn my vote in any of my identities. And if there is something missing, I don't attribute it to any one of my identities, because I recognize I exist in all of them at the same time.
All right.
But to the point, I think what I have heard is that when candidates aggressively seek out one voting bloc, it feels like pandering. That when you show up on the Breakfast Club and talk about your policy, the sound bites that come from the Breakfast Club feel disingenuous. Or when you go on a Joe Rogan podcast compared to a Breakfast Club, what you were saying on that is catered to the show that you were stepping into. To Vice President Harris's statement, black men are a voting bloc, and candidates do have to earn our vote. Where they earn our vote is imperative. That for me, growing up in the black church, I was always more receptive to a message in church than anywhere else. Because I was always at church too. But I think that was something that was important for me. So hearing from candidates in church felt more genuine to me than hearing a candidate on a Breakfast Club or a podcast or showing up at a parade and doing a jig or selling shoes or saying I was coming. That was no shade.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
People love shoes.
Let me